While it's never good advice to stare at the sun, you will want to listen to this one sun. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the 223rd episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Winnie, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today is like every other episode. We've got a great guest, but if you missed last week's episode with Alex Berman, go back. That dude created inbound sales out of just about nothing. Blew up his company so much so he quit his sales job at the company so he could be hired as a consultant and took this company into the stratosphere. Millions and tens of millions of dollars. Leads going from 14 to 50 to 150 a month. And using his own creativity, his brains, doing a deep dive, understanding their strengths, their weaknesses, and he made it happen. So good stuff. And before we get too far along, if you are interested at all in mastering the art of the close, you will want to head over to art.makeeverysale.com. Starting January 12th, 2016, I'm kicking off at least seven, probably more. Probably go 8 to 10, but at least 7 live interactive calls. You get a 60-plus page workbook and lifetime access to our private Facebook page. Anytime I do the live training like this, on the phone and webinar, you'll get access. But you're also getting my $2,000 course called Make Every Sale. So for $597, you get $2,600 worth of stuff and access for life. Okay, art.makeeverysale.com. Go check that out. I also wanted to continue for a few minutes on my review of Robert Ringer's book, Winning Through Intimidation. Interesting title, but timeless concepts. This is from 1973. I have a 74 second edition hardcover here. The guy was cutting his teeth in the 60s. And making things happen, literally pulled himself up by the bootstraps and built a very lucrative business in real estate. So if you didn't listen to last week's episode, that's another reason to go back. I went on for, 7 or 8 minutes on that review, but the lessons, are timeless. One thing that you need to understand in sales, and that's some of the things we'll cover as well. I'm incorporating. I'm always learning, reading, and attending workshops. I've invested in myself at least $40,000 in 2016 in programs, workshops, private coaching, technology, and more hours of training than I can count. I have all 12 of HubSpot certifications. I think I'm one of the few in the world. I've been to an 8-day private conference. So, I'm pulling these things in and you get the benefit of that. And again, when you enroll, you get lifetime access. I've got people that have paid $97 years and years ago that are still getting access to my live calls. Okay. So I'm a man of my word. So when you enroll, you get it forever. But, Robert's book, he talks about, prospects view your commission as an afterthought. And really that's if they view them at all. The prospect doesn't want to think about the money you're making because they think that if you're making money, then they're the ones paying it. So they're just overpaying for their services. So it's not necessarily right or wrong. Obviously, you have to get paid. If you can't get paid, then you can't bring them the value. You can't serve. But you need to understand that. Okay. And so along those lines, you have to remove any benefit of the doubt from the deal. Get things in writing, get them done up front. That gives you your staying power. You've heard great marketers like Dan Kennedy and Gary Halbert, and I had Bond Halbert on the show a while back. But they talked about how much money can you spend to acquire a client, a customer. Okay, big businesses and smart marketers will actually go in the hole because they know the lifetime value of a client. And so let's say it takes you $100 to acquire a customer that spends $50 a month. But you know that the average customer, stays with you 6.5 months. So the average customer, 6.5, so 6 times 50 is $300 plus the half, another $25. So you know that if you spend $50, you're going to get back $325, right? So you're going to make $275. So you can spend $50, you can spend $100, you can spend $200 realistically, right? If you're efficient, you don't have a lot of overhead. So you have to have the staying power. And, this is as timeless. I mean, this is going back, again, the book was published in 73, so it was probably written 71, 72, but this was his life experience in the 60s. So this is easily going back 50 years, and it's as true today as it ever was, okay? There are devious types out there that will do everything they can to take your money. So be careful. And it's not the hard-charging, aggressive ones that are necessarily the toughest. At least they're straight out and with you, and they're open, and they're honest in their desire to beat you or to take your money. You can defend yourself against them. It's the holier than thous, right? It's those that say, oh, you can trust me. We don't need a contract. I'm a Christian man. I'm full of integrity. I always hold on to my wallet when somebody leads with that. So be careful of those people, but make sure you're not one of those as well, okay? He mentioned a quote. There was a deal he helped get done, and he didn't have all of his contracts. Things weren't in place, and he was asking for a big chunk of change. At least back then, he ended up getting 10 and 20 and 30 times more money. But, one of the people said, you're only a salesman. It's unconscionable that you should get paid a lot. And in the 7 deadly sins of selling, I cover that. Sin number 5 is that we're uncomfortable with money. We grow up being uncomfortable with money. We grow up not knowing how to balance a checkbook, not knowing how much our parents, our house is that we grew up in, how much the car was, how much dinner was. You just didn't talk about money. People still in America don't. And so then we get into being entrepreneurs and business owners and salespeople, and that, deep down issue rears its ugly head. And you got to get over that. You need to learn how to control your fear, your view of money. People always say money is the root of all evil. And it's like they're either not a Christian, or they're ignorant, or they're manipulative. Because 1 Timothy, I think it's 1 Timothy 6:10. I have to look it up. I know it's in Timothy. It says it's the love of money that is the root of all evil. Money is just a convenient medium of exchange. And your bank account is a direct reflection of the good and bad choices you've made in your lifetime. That's all it is. So it is very conscionable that we should get paid a lot as salespeople, assuming we're bringing value, assuming we're serving, assuming that when the customer gives us $100, we give them $150 or $200 or $1,000 worth of value. Okay? So learn to make a lot of money. That's the good thing, right? The other thing is, self-proclaim, promote yourself. I talked about Dr. Seuss before. He made up that name, Captain Kangaroo. He made up that name, the Sales Whisperer, right? I just made up the name, and I searched, and it was available, and I trademarked it. So give yourself any title. You see singers, all the time. Madonna, that's a made-up name, of course. Beyonce, that's her real name, but she just goes by that name. Prince, right? I mean, you name it. Dr. Dre, Ice-T, Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg. I mean, they make up a name, but then they live up to it, right? Too many people nowadays want to give themselves a name, have these accolades, and they haven't earned it. I'm sorry. It takes a while. I'm a big believer in the 10,000-hour rule. You don't just become great overnight, okay? The biggest thing I'll leave you with here is, embrace the need to intimidate. And again, it's not like you're staring somebody down or shouting them down or beating them down. But when people are in your presence, they need to understand that you're an expert, that you're not someone to be pushed around. At a minimum, you're the equal to that person in the room. As a human being, you're always an equal, right? Made in the image and likeness of God, like we all are. But on your particular product, you should be the expert in the room. So on that topic, they should defer to you. So you need to embrace your expertise and how you might intimidate someone in that area. And again, it's just to gain their trust, to control the conversation, and to get to the truth. More times than not, I tell people that they are not right for the software that I sell, whether it's Infusionsoft or HubSpot or Entreport, I'll send people links to, free and $9 and $15 a month solutions so they can get started understanding marketing automation and CRMs and sequential drip marketing. Then when they're ready, they can come back to me. So, but they see me as the expert because I am. I mean, I've done this literally for 20 years, worked with databases and platforms like this since 94 when I was in the Air Force, right? Working on databases to ensure personnel were updated, right? That they were trained, they were vaccinated, that we had the gear that we need. So I was working with CRMs essentially before they were really CRMs. And then 94, 95, all the way into 97 when I got out of the Air Force, I was an instructor. So from late 95 to late 97. So now here I am training people on CRMs. Crazy how that works, huh? So I do embrace the fact that my skills might intimidate some people, but again, it's not to have them cower or bow down. It's just so that they appreciate what I bring to the table and that they pay what I think I'm worth. Okay, and that's what you have to do as well. Self-proclaim, promote yourself, embrace your expertise, but you better be able to back it up. Okay, but posture, like he said in the book, is greater than knowledge plus ability plus action, right? But then that equals posture. So knowledge plus ability plus action. It was interesting how he brings things together. But you need to understand that. Knowledge plus ability plus action equals posture. But your posture is greater than all of those. Kind of crazy. I'll leave you with that, right? But like I said, check out art.makeeverysale.com. The price will go up, or I won't include all the bonuses if you wait until after December 31st. Take action, will you? Please. You'll be happy that you did. Now let's bring on Miss Winnie Sun. Winnie Sun, the Wealth Whisperer, and my SoCal neighbor. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How are you?
I am awesome. Thanks for having me here.
Very nice. I ran across you on Twitter. You got a big following. I saw the Wealth Whisperer. I'm the Sales Whisperer. It's like, I got to have you on the show. And lo and behold, right. Here you are.
Well, there you go.
So what is going on? You are the managing director, founding partner of Sun Group Wealth Partners. So what is that all about? How did you get into the financial business?
Well, it happened many, many years ago. But I started working in television, and my parents were rather disappointed that I had used up my college education for television. So in an effort to please them and impress them, I went into the financial industry. Well, kind of, sort of, but I was recruited to work at a firm called Smith Barney.
Yep. And
that's really how it started.
So that was more respectable than television?
So they thought.
So were you just a typical stockbroker? I mean, Series 7 kind of license doing your financial advising thing?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So, yes, I started in the late 90s and joined Smith Barney as a private wealth advisor. So I still work with a lot of clients from all over the country, helping them with things like retirement planning and things like that. And in about 2011, we started our own firm, and really the rest is history because we've completely changed. It's a very, very different practice than the one I first started.
Right. So when you say we, do you have partners?
I do. I have a business partner. His name is Brandon Chang. He and I have worked together now for almost 17 years.
Wow.
And we're like brother and sister now. I think we've been working together for so long that the right hand talks to the left hand.
Yeah.
It works really well because we're very, personality-wise, we're very, very different. But I think there's a lot of things that are similar about us, but we complement each other, and that's why it works.
Yeah, that is awesome that you find somebody like that. Mm-hmm. I've been looking for a reliable partner forever. So the gods have smiled upon you.
I know. I often tell him how lucky he is.
That's awesome. So it took you, 12, 13 years to go on your own, right? Because you started late 90s. In 2011 you launched.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, I love the firm Smith Barney. I probably would still be there today if weren't for changes. And right around that time, Smith Barney was bought out by Morgan Stanley. And culture-wise, it was very different, but it was an opportunity really for us to make a change. And so, we were heavily recruited by all the major firms, and then we were introduced the idea from my ex-manager at Smith Barney, who's somebody I admire deeply, and he says, "Have you ever thought about going independent and starting your own practice?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "I think you should do it. I think we should do it together." So that's kind of how it went.
Oh, cool. So it probably was not as easy as you just made it sound, though, right?
It isn't. Any big business decision is never easy. I think especially in our situation where we were heavily recruited by all the competing firms. So we were, they were offering some significant dollars as sign-on bonuses. So not only did it mean turning away significant amounts of money, and we're not talking like a little bit of money, we're talking significant, life-changing amounts of money, and also making the decision that we came to be, which is really the way we decided on it. I told Brandon one day, I said, "Brandon, I really want to do this." And he says, "Why would you want to do this?" I said, "Because I feel like this is a decision that's best for my clients, and I'll be able to look at them and really tell them I did this not because of the money that I was offered, but this was a decision that was best for both of us, them and us." And how powerful is that message? So essentially we went this route. We started our own firm. We didn't get that huge check. And, it took a while for my business partner, Brandon, to come to grips with this. But I think at the end, he realizes how important this was to me. And, of course, he loves our clients just as much as I do. And that was how we came to the decision. It really was something that we were passionate about because we knew that our clients were very loyal to us, had always been very loyal to, and that it had to be about more than money, because life is so short. You can't just, we're not just powered by money. We have to be powered by a greater passion and devotion and something that gets us excited about waking up every Monday morning, right, to come into the office, which, as you know, Wes, transcends so much beyond just that dollar. Because the dollar really is so meaningless in the broad scheme of things. We just have to manage money. But at the end of the day, we have to have brought value to our clients somehow. And I think when we started our own firm, that was really the mantra and the mission and the foundation of this firm. And so since 2011 to now, we met on Twitter. That's how it's done.
Right. So why did you feel you couldn't serve your clients as well if you stayed with another big firm?
Well, there's nothing wrong with the big firms. They're great places to start your practice. They're great places to be a client and whatnot. But I think that the thing is, it became a situation where I felt like the way I viewed my clients were very different from how the big firms view my clients. And that is possibly just me. So I don't want to say I don't regret any of the time I spent at the larger firms. But I do feel that you get lost in the shuffle, because what happens is, you are, as a client at these larger firms, oftentimes, of no fault of theirs, as a business, you're defined by the amount of assets you have with them, right? And how much revenue that's generated off your relationship. Well, so there will be times where I have a client that's been with us, with the firm, in fact, multiple generations, and I would want to waive certain fees or discount certain things, and it could be done. It just wasn't done very easily. And so those discussions, I felt like they took a lot of time, and they weren't in the best interest of my clients or me building a practice. Right. So by starting my own firm, I could control that, right? So since 2011 to now, I'm proud to say that, we haven't increased any of our fees. And that's significant, because when I was working at the larger firms, although wonderful firms, great places to learn, to build a practice and to monitor investments for our clients, literally fees were going up every 6 to 12 months. And these were the same clients that were with us for over a decade, right? But it just seemed like with every new innovation kept increasing fees.
Right.
And it just didn't seem right. So this gave us a chance to really control our messaging, our practice. And also, the reason why I do so much on social media is this is pretty much the most cost-effective way that I have figured out to build and grow our practice, and then still letting my clients enjoy very, very reasonable fees.
Right. That's awesome.
They get the same team, but in many ways, a significant discount. So, good stuff.
So what do you say to all of your competitors who always are telling me, I mean, in healthcare and in finance, people all the time, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that because of regulations and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, here you are. You're on the news. You're on Yahoo. You're on Forbes. You're everywhere. You're online, 103,000 followers on Twitter. It seems like social media is not slowing you down.
It isn't. It sure isn't. I mean, I think that we always, as business owners, we always have a choice every morning when we wake up if we want to succeed or fail, right? And I always knew that there was always going to be regulatory issues. Like you said, healthcare, finance were pretty much the most heavily regulated industries as they can be. However, that also gives you an opportunity. So it just means you can't be a complete you can't lose your mind and go on television or news or write about something such as, like, I think you should all buy, XYZ, blah, 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 blah. You just can't do that. But there are certain things that you can do. You can display yourself as a human being. You can go and support and give to other people. All these things that we absolutely cherish in our industries, we can do on social. So to say that it's difficult, yes, it is. But I think that gives me a tremendous opportunity, because everybody I meet is saying it's so difficult and they don't know if they can do it and they are afraid to get in trouble. And I'm like, well, you just have to be human and talk about things people want to hear about, and be smart and don't. And the thing about social, as you know, Wes, I mean, the great thing is the thing you should not do is the thing that doesn't work well on social, which is. And this is going to sound funny to a lot of your listeners, but the truth of the matter is just don't sell on social media, right? If we don't sell, you won't get in trouble.
Right. Now, I need to put a caveat in there. That's just for you regulated people. Everybody else, you just sell. Get out there and sell something.
Absolutely. Just for us.
So how have you gotten so much publicity? I mean, you got a big following. I'm seeing you on news and print. What is your secret to marketing and branding success?
I think it's a tremendous devotion to it. So you really have to get yourself out there, right? So I think I always say this, and I'm sure you say this all the time, Wes. It doesn't matter how good we are at what we do. I could be the best wealth manager, the best doctor, the best attorney on the universe, but if nobody knows that I exist, I essentially don't exist. Yeah. And I'll be out of business sooner than later. And the biggest, if you think about it this way, who actually loses if you're out of business? And of course it's your family, but really your clients lose when you're out of business, right? Yeah. So we have to look at it as a selfless thing to promote ourselves, because by promoting ourselves, we stay in business, our clients benefit from having us, and we can continue to grow together. And it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So I spend a tremendous time, honing my craft, not only studying financial research every day, but also making sure that I am, in essence, feeding the media, right? So I have had a long time column on Forbes now, have my own podcast, and the media now seeks me out almost all the time. So like any big news, like when Trump was elected president that night, I had like the press reaching out to me constantly to get comments. So that's the common now.
Right. So how did you first start? How should somebody, if they haven't been good at promotion, what should they do this week, this month, to begin building a brand for themselves?
They should start listening to their clients. So they should start interviewing their clients and other people that they would serve in their respective industries and find out what is it that they want to hear and listen to and read. And then from there, that will give you an idea of the kind of content that is relevant to people who interview people like yourself. And then you then figure out who it is that writes or publishes or promotes people like yourself. And then you want to build a relationship with them. And then the most important thing is you have to create original content, you know. I think people often ask me what I do for a living. I said, well, now I run a multimedia financial wealth management practice. So I would say the reason that is about 40% of my time now is spent on developing content that is relevant to the public on what we do. It always has a financial tie to it, and that is what we give out. But the 60% of my time is still devoted to meeting and managing money for clients. It has to be that way. Any growing practice or business has to have somebody on their team doing that. So you have one leg still knowing exactly what it is that your clients need, and the other leg is going and figuring out what generation Y and Z are going to need from you, so your practice and your business stay relevant. And so there's a lot of people will hire publicists for themselves, and I do have wonderful publicists. But the thing is, I always tell people, you can't just have a publicist and assume it's going to be magical and you're going to get publicity and press. It has to be relevant. You have to create value. So the most successful relationships that you can have with the media is to figure out what it is, what value you can bring them. Because at the end of the day, like, I manage a lot of money for clients at the Los Angeles Times, and all of them are under so much stress and pressure to build their social following, right? To get people to read their articles. So we as potential contributors have to figure out a way to help them make their jobs better. And if you do, then you will have a mutually beneficial relationship, and you won't have to ask for people to put you on their show. They will put you on their show because they need you, and that's wonderful, because that means I want them to need me because I want to be able to offer them something. So it's truly a mutually beneficial relationship.
Right. That's awesome. So what happens? You know, everybody hears you, they read about you, but then you can't personally service all of the leads when you build a big brand. How do you modify that or address that with somebody that listens, say, oh my gosh, I love Winnie, and then they call and they're like, they can't get you?
Well, that's a good point. The good news is they can get me. I have a very large team, and so we have it situated in such a fashion where it does take care of all our clients. Because it kind of, one of the rules that we have as a practice, you know, when we first started, was we would take on clients until the point where someone called in and we wouldn't know who they were. Like if John called in and said, hey, this is John. If we needed to find out, we needed to ask John who, then our practice was too big. So that was kind of the way that we do it. And we have a lot of people on our team. And in addition, every client gets a part of me. So when any new relationship comes in, I will meet with them. And there will be another partner of mine in the same room. So they always get assigned two of us from day one. And then when anything big happens or planning, then I'm always there for them. And on the simpler things like I need a check or I need to put a deposit, that kind of stuff, they have another partner that handles. So in essence, they always get a part of me. And then now we're building out this new system where actually they can get a part of me and do it all online without even having to come into the office. So that should be coming out next year, which I'm kind of excited about because I think that will help us help more people.
That's going to be my new slogan. Say, you want a piece of me?
That's right.
Is that what you tell them? You feel lucky, punk? Well, do you? Uh-huh. So you got some cool things here. You've got a Winnie Son, #WinnieSon chat. So that's on Wednesdays. How does that work? I've been a part of really only a couple of those ever. How do you get momentum around that, and who should consider doing a live chat?
Well, that's a good question. I've had this chat for now over a year. Now it is it's one of the largest business chats in the entire social media universe. Where our last, I don't know. I gotta find out the numbers from last week. I think last week was really big, but we've been, anywhere between 150 to 300 million impressions per hour. So we're now topping a lot of the big social media chats, and we're a financial chat. So this is a big deal. And what it is basically a global chat where people from all over the Twitter universe can come in, and we have a series of financial related questions. And the community comes together and talks and shares stories and shares experiences and all sorts of things like that. And it's been incredibly helpful in terms of just reaching more people who are like-minded. And then your second question was who should do one of these chats. Now, I'll say, to be completely honest, it takes a village to pull off one of these weekly chats, and we do it every single week. It almost takes about 7 people to pull this off. So it's not an easy thing. If you don't think you have the bandwidth, I would suggest following other people's chats and just participating in their chats because it does take a lot of time to pull it off properly, because you don't want a chat that doesn't have a lot of interaction and a lot of people. But we generally have, over 200 participants every week, and these are very, very large influencers. Like my good friend, Dr. Joyce, she's got over 1 million followers. She participates regularly. We have so many people who come in and just want to have a conversation about something that has something to do with money. And it's cool because we have a lot of people that come in and say, I never was that comfortable talking about money, but now I can do it every week. I just feel a lot more mindful about my finances. So that's what we like to hear.
Right. And for those that aren't familiar, it's just obviously somebody could hashtag you or just go on Twitter and ask a question at any time, but you may or may not see it, right? Or it may be days or even weeks before you do see it or can reply. But doing a hashtag chat like this is when basically you tell the world, hey, at this time, Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, I will be here with my team, and we'll do our best to get back to you, immediately during this block of time if you use this hashtag, right?
Oh yeah, they get me completely. And not only that, I'm actually really, if you follow my feed, I'm almost on throughout the day. It's only when on the weekends I try to go radio silent because I have my little kids. But absolutely, if you come every Wednesday, literally for that hour and a half, I'll be on, our entire tribe will be on, everybody will be there to answer and talk. And we've been, it's really just coming together and talking about this week's, for example, this week's topic is about whether you should buy or lease a car, right? And very simple topic, but we have some really fun people joining in that you can talk to. For example, Marsha Cooler is going to be a panelist, and she's a good friend of mine, and she's written I think over 30 of those dummies self-help books.
48 of them.
Oh, 48. Yeah, my apologies. Sorry, Marsha. But she's incredible, and you'll be able to talk to her, interact with her the entire hour, So it's fun things. You actually get direct line of communication with us. Those are,
right.
For a lot of people always think they can't reach us. I'll be on CNBC or Cheddar, and they'll be like, well, would you even mind taking a question? I'm every Wednesday you can ask us this
right.
anytime.
So do you normally bring in guests and have a set topic for each week?
Yes, we have a set topic every week. We plan them well in advance, and we have very interesting people as panelists. We have experts. We have newscasters. We have celebrities. We have all sorts of fun people discussing topics that are relevant. I think, we've had a very stellar panel. So every week you'll find somebody interesting you talk to and make friends with. And then while you join in, you'll also get a whole bunch of new followers, which is one of those natural perks of. So if you're a business owner trying to increase your social reach or to get more followers, then you really should participate, because you'll make a whole bunch of friends and get a whole bunch of new followers from them.
Right. Imagine how big it'll be when the Wealth Whisperer has the Sales Whisperer on. It might break Twitter.
You know what? I think that we have to make that happen. I'm going to certainly put that in the calendar. We'll figure this out.
All right. It'll be on the third Tuesday of next week, right?
Third Tuesday of next week.
That's like never.
Yeah, out for the first quarter.
I've fallen for that trick, okay? It won't happen again. Maybe not. I don't know, maybe.
But that sounds like a great idea. I think we definitely got to figure something out because it'll be fun.
Hey, we could do it while drinking wine. How about that? That'd be the first ever live Twitter chat at a winery with two whisperers.
Oh, that would be fun, huh?
I'm telling you, I'm all kind of ideas. So I was going to ask you, like, how do you monetize that? But so one way is you increase followers, but then do you have other offers? Are you driving people to landing pages, like with a free report or something that pertains to that topic, or is this more of just seeking to serve, build awareness, and build that top of mind so that the business does eventually come?
That's a good question, and that's probably the biggest question that my business partner, Brandon, asks me on a day-to-day basis. But I will say that, building out social media was something very organic and natural for me because, I wanted to go out there and get more people to know that we existed in a positive way. And so that was the first priority, was to build awareness. And now we are starting to monetize that. We've had a lot of big brands actually reach out to do business with us, with me in particular. And we continue to go into 2017 with that. And then now that we have such a large global following, we are creating parts of our business. Next year, we're going to be rolling out this really, really cool thing that people that follow me on social are always like, oh, I'm in this state, or I'm in this small city, and I only wish I could do business with you. Well, now they can. So we're gonna launch that out next year. I don't have all the details, so I can't give them to you, but they'll be able to do all business with me online and get a piece of me too.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, because that was a question that I had, because you are in a regulated industry. I mean, I can sell software to anybody in the world, right? And I've got 2,400 clients around the world that have bought from me. Or gotten training from me, but I don't have any of those regulations. So, but I guess the main lesson here is, even though you have a national and international presence, but maybe, let's say, just even though you probably have other licenses, but essentially, I mean, you're in California. So by and large, you have California clients. Others would use that as an excuse to not take action, right? Oh, I'm just a broker in Minnesota, so it wouldn't help me to get national coverage, so I just won't do this. The reality is, you can get the word out. You could always refer somebody, right? That's legal, right? You could, let's say you're licensed in California and you get a prospect in Minnesota, you could refer them out, and that Minnesota broker could pay you a referral fee, right? So, I mean, there's no reason not to expand. And of course, like in your case, you've gotten so big, it opens the door to create a multi-state or a national, maybe even international investing options down the road, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Wes. But, Wes, I probably need to seek some advice for you at some point. I mean, this is kind of a work in progress.
Sure.
We knew I had we knew how much social reach we had. Financial Planning magazine said that I had more followers than Ben Bernanke. And as far as we know, I'm like one of the most followed financial advisors right now on social media. But then what does that mean? Is it just vanity numbers, or is there some way you can leverage that in terms of business? And so we talked about, the team and I have considered things like doing webinar series and doing this and that. And really it's just, it's not something that naturally comes to us, right? We don't naturally think that way because we all do what we do. And so at some point you have to leverage the advice of people who know better to go ahead and take you from where you are today to somewhere else. And I think that was interesting because we had, I just recently got a series of book offers, and now we have a television offer. We've got so many different offers now that now it's like, whether or not you want to, it's just, you're realizing that there's an interest in what you have on a larger scale than what you're delivering it at. So,
right.
Yeah, we got to learn.
Yeah, well, we're all too close to our own business. You know, the old adage, you can't read the label from inside the bottle. You know, and we take for granted and we discount too much the value of our knowledge. Oh, everybody knows that. That's not unique. You're like, no, that is unique. And that is worth charging for. And so that's why you need somebody from the outside looking in, you know, that can help you, remove the blinders, right? Or just expand your vision to the things we don't know.
Exactly.
You know, because that was my first job. When I got out of the Air Force, I was a stockbroker in Mobile, Alabama. I mean, I had my 7, I had my 65, I had my life.
Wow.
So, I mean, I know that world. And I know... in speaking with so many advisors over the years, so many just they limit themselves because of regulations. You know, oh, I can't say this, can't say that. I'm not licensed there. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, think bigger. So I'm gonna tell them all to follow Winnie, son. Right? Say, go big. So,
go big or go home.
So what is this millennial study?
Yeah, so I think I can't remember. Like, I was either on CNBC or Fox Business, and we were having a conversation on the panel. We're talking about millennials in general, and one of the co-hosts were saying, well, it's because millennials don't want to buy homes. They have no interest in ever buying homes. They're going to be renters forever, something to that nature. And I remember thinking to myself, are you serious? Because the millennials at my office absolutely do want to buy a home. But when you're 20-some years old and you're not married yet, it may not be top of mind, your most important priority for you at that moment, just like when we were younger, right? And so... I remember being in college and people making generalizations about me, and it would bug me. I said, well, if we really want to know what millennials think about finance, about money, we have to ask them. We can't just make assumptions. So we did this national survey, and then I started doing interviews from New York all the way to California here of different millennials, many of them very successful millennials, about their financial habits and tendencies. And so that was the foundation of the millennial study. And now, without going too much detail, I'm working on a book. So we'll probably have more interesting things to share at that point.
Cool. Yeah, because the millennials, I mean, size-wise, aren't they a little bit bigger than the baby boomers?
They are the biggest generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then now the oldest millennial is like 35, pushing 36. So these aren't kids anymore. They're actually full-grown adults. So as you know, Wes, because you, especially with your background in the financial industry, the banking financial industry is not complete, but in many ways out of touch with this generation. They just don't even know how to speak to them, deal with them. And really the millennial generation has a strong distaste for us in the financial industry. So we got to figure out how we can bridge that and how we can do business together, because as you know, when we get older, our parents look to us as being adults and being able to handle financial decisions. So that movement of wealth is now moving sooner or later from the boomers to generation X, Y, Z. So whether we want to or not, those are our future clients. So we need to get ready, because otherwise we're going to lose out on the opportunity. But fortunately, I'm pretty sure that my team are going to get a good piece of that business.
Nice. But, I do have to correct you. I mean, I'm almost 46, and I'm nowhere near an adult. Okay, so age does not. I mean, that really has no bearing.
I'm sure your parents don't think that.
Oh, they would agree. They're the ones that tell me. Even my wife, like, will you grow up? My kids tell me, will you grow up? They roll their eyes. I'm like, look,
Oh, you're the cool dad.
I'm still riding a big wheel. It's just I got to do it.
You fit on a big wheel.
Hey, what are you saying? I'm big. What are you saying? I don't know. It's a really big wheel. Okay, I mean, I had it like reinforced. It's awesome.
A custom big wheel.
It's like nitro boost. That thing will 0 to 60 in like 1.2. It's awesome.
Oh, it's a Harley.
But I digress. So this is awesome. So on your interviews, so will they fly you out, or you just go like to a local studio? How do they normally do that? A little behind the scenes look for us.
Well, it just depends on the show and the content and what's expected. But yeah, sometimes I do get flown all over the country. I do fly all over. So yes, many of them do fly me out to different parts of the country to do broadcasts. And a lot of them nowadays, I love actually doing them from home, because not home actually, I mean my office, but a lot of them are done by Skype these days, like you and I are in. And also actually we have my team, my office, we have in-house 4K video production.
Nice.
So there'll be like certain shows that will call us up and say, hey, Winnie, we can get footage of you doing something on this and telling us about this. So we'll take the footage, we'll film it, and then we'll just shoot it right over.
Nice.
And then they'll be up on air, within the next 20 minutes. So nowadays, I think like that's how I do it. But like for example, CNBC closing bell and whatnot, they still do prefer us to be there in New York, which I don't mind at all. And, coming from the street. So it just depends on the show and the program.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, how far in advance do they typically schedule that? Is it a week? Is it a month? Is it last minute?
Well, how fast does the news work? So it just depends on the topic, right? So, you got to figure out what your sweet spot is and what your focuses are. So obviously, I do know quite a bit about millennial finance. I do talk a lot about tech, entertainment, since we're here on the West Coast, and growth stocks, growth anything, right? And personal finance topics. So depending on if that becomes relevant, it could be tomorrow that they need me. For example, last week I was on Cheddar, and I think I found out 48 hours prior, and we're ready to go. And I talked about GoPro that day, but it just depends. You'd like to get early notice, but generally it's not the case, because the news changes by the second, especially during the election period, right? I mean, every day it was something different, and unless you had something to talk about, Clinton or Trump, you weren't going to make the news.
Yeah, true. Very nice. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Where should we send people to connect with you?
There's a couple places. I think the easiest place is to go to the main website, which is sungroupwp.com, or you can just Google Sun Group Winnie or Winnie Sun.
Right.
And then on Twitter, my handle is @sungroupwp. So I welcome everybody to connect with me there and to join our tweet chat. And it's just a fun way. The tweet chat's a fun way to come and kick the tires and get to know us. It's like you could even just sit back and just watch the interaction, but fun ways to make friends.
Right. I will put that on my calendar, and we'll link to you, of course, everywhere. I've got your Winnie Sun, I've got your Sun Group WP, I've got Twitter. So, and you've got your phone number there. Look at you. You're just wide open. That's awesome.
Yeah, you can call me. Just call me. No big deal. I'm always available, if you want to talk. And the only rule I have, and you know this because you used to be in the financial industry, people always ask me what my minimum is. And so, and I'm guessing you are the same way, just because we become friends today. I can kind of get that sense from you. But, my only minimum is that you have a really intense interest in changing your financial situation today, right, to make yourself better. And if that's the case, then we're good.
Right. Very nice. And that's an interesting point there in what you're doing, and what all of our listeners could do is sort, sift, and separate, right? I always tell people, when you're prospecting, you're really not qualifying, you're disqualifying, right? You're looking for people that you can't help, because the reality is we can usually only help a very small percentage of people, like right this very moment. Now, they may be ready tomorrow or next week or next month, but right this very moment. So, I wanted to just mention that, because you're putting out there a little disqualification, right?
I love that's great.
So, and it helps, and it helps people rise up to meet your standards, right? And that really is the best way to seek and to serve. Is you have to know who you can help, who you can't help. And like now you're experiencing that, right? And that you have to say no to more things. For you to really be present now, you have to say no to more things than you can say yes to, because there's probably more opportunities coming than you can handle, right?
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I'm loving what you just said, but I do feel like in business, there is definitely the power of saying no, right?
Yep.
Because you have to free yourself for opportunities. You can't possibly provide guidance to everybody.
Right.
And I think that, Wes, like what you said is a good point. You can tell because you've done this for a very long time. We don't learn this lesson until quite deep into our businesses, right? We have to have done this for at least a decade or maybe even two to learn that lesson. Because in the beginning, we just want all the business, and we soon learn that just is actually counterintuitive. I love that filtering thing. Yeah. So true.
That's a writer downer. You know what? I may actually share this recording with you.
Please do. I would love to have a copy of this recording. So I can share it with my peeps.
I will do it. Well, it is almost lunchtime. I will let you get back to the promoting yourself and serving your clients. So, Winnie's son, thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast. It's been awesome.
Thank you, Wes, for your time.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Good stuff, huh? Be committed to promotion and promoting yourself. That's always been my theme. If you remember listening back to Michael Hyatt years ago, crazy to think years ago, I asked him that question. I said, I think it's 90% promotion, 10% product. And he disagreed with the percentages, but easily 50-50, right? At least 50% of your time needs to be spent promoting yourself, marketing yourself. And most entrepreneurs, inventors, they spend zero time promoting themselves, and they're suffering, right? And now here's Winnie making stuff happen, following her dreams, right? She followed her parents' dreams for a while, but realized it wasn't her. And now she's taken on and embracing new mediums, new forms of technology. She's in a very highly regulated industry, but still getting stuff done online. And I asked her about that. And so if you're in financial services, if you're in healthcare, you can still leverage social media and any form of communication to get the word out. You just have to say the right things, right? And avoid saying the wrong things. Good grief. Make it happen. So be sure to check out her chats on Wednesday. That's a cool thing. I'm going to be trying those as well. And follow her, reach out to her. She's very friendly. What you see is what you get, right? What you hear is what you get. Very pleasant personality, getting out there, making things happen. So tweet her and tell her to come drink some wine with me, and we'll do another podcast in the wineries, right? But don't do that until you sign up for the Art of the Close. art.makeeverysale.com. Lifetime access includes the Make Every Sale course. It's $2,000. Do it now, pretty please. Then join us in our private group and share the word. Invite your friends. Share the podcast. And remember, whatever you do, to sell different.